Why does it have to be so difficult to lose the weight? Weight loss is really not so easy. It's very challenging when you're trying to lose that 10, 15, 20 pounds and keep it off at the same time. But our food choices are really what can hold us back from reaching the goal and staying there at the same time. So I have a couple of food swaps that I do in exchange for the habits that I had been gaining. Lately, I had been munching on a lot of snacking, as you guys have heard in the past videos. But I realized that the pounds keep ticking back up even when I'm doing the fasting lifestyle and fasting on a weekly basis. So my first suggestion for food swapping is popcorn. I've been eating popcorn about probably the last month, I'll say. That is being a snack that I kind of treat as a treat, but when it becomes a regular thing, then there's a problem and the pounds are going up. My suggestion is to switch that out for grapes or berries, something that of that sort that is a high water content type of food. Bottom line is to keep the density so you're not calorie counting, you're not feeling like you're deprived from having a nice snack, whether it's sweet or whether it's savory. These are one of the things that I do. So eating grapes for me is a treat. I kind of have a sense of guilt when I do eat a bowl of grapes. I'm finding that the next day, the weight is not ticking up. Either it's staying at the same or I'm losing a pound. Breakfast. We know that we were taught all our lives to eat breakfast first thing in the morning. That is the most important meal of the day. Well, that's not necessarily true if you're fasting on a regular basis. And if you're doing intermittent fasting like a 16-8, then you know you can adjust it to fit whatever meal plan you are looking to do. For me is skipping breakfast. So the swap out is doing intermittent fasting of some sort, meaning cut the breakfast out. I can eat 2 meals if you would like to squeeze it into like a 4 to 6 hour eating window, and you can still feel satiated enough to get through the next day, where maybe it's after lunchtime, maybe like 1 o'clock, and you set 1 to say 7 o'clock for your last meal if you're the type of person that is doing a 2-meal day. Either way, that makes sense. But as long as you're doing the water content food that is high in that sense, and then you feeling a lot more better. You can eat more, but your calorie intake is less. Instead of having toast or some type of bread, or like I like sourdough bread, and I had to cut that out for a couple of weeks just to see where I was going wrong. If you're the type of person that really wants that breakfast, then instead of having toast, have oatmeal, or you can do the sprouted whole grain bread, which is something like per slice only 70 calories. So that's something that you can still do and get your butter on it and have a low calorie meal. You can also put almond butter or peanut butter on top of the bread, and that actually is a meal because you're getting your fats and you're getting protein at the same time. Okay. This is a big one for me. Swapping out cheese is so tough for me. So instead of having cheese on the fat side, for those fats, try avocado. When you're eating a salad, you could put, say, a half of a avocado, say a medium size, and have that on top of it instead of having the cheese, which I would usually do. Either I'm sprinkling some kind of cheese or cheddar cheese or mozzarella or anything, any cheese I can get my hands on because I love it. But sometimes you have to take a break if you're finding that you're stuck and you reach the plateau of trying to lose the extra 10, 15 pounds. I also sprinkle not sprinkle, but I put a lot of cilantro on my salad, and the cilantro helps a lot because you have those spices and it's a great taste. It smells really good. It is so water content high, so you're really not having much of calorie intake from the cilantro. And on top of that, it's just giving a lot of vitamins as well. That's one way that I just swap out the cheese. Sugar, another big category, right? But it doesn't have to be so daunting. just don't add sugar to anything. You shouldn't have sweeteners in your teas or your coffee if you can help it. If you really feel like you have to have something of some sweetness, maybe try some stevia. You know, a little bit controversial about stevia, but you don't have the calories. It does come from a plant. You just have to make sure that it's very pure and where you're buying it from. Now, I don't personally do stevia unless I'm really in dire straits, because I don't have white sugar in the house at all whatsoever. When I'm doing some fruit, like some berries, I would sprinkle on cinnamon, and that tastes so yummy. And if you're doing something like that, you're getting a little bit of satisfaction when it comes down to looking for that sweetness. Nuts. I know nuts is good for you, but the thing is, we're doing too much on the nut side. It's such a high fat, calorie type of food that you can get into trouble, and then you're still going the other way or the other direction on the weight scale. So instead of doing nuts, because I always love eating almonds, and I haven't been doing that for a couple of weeks as well, and I noticed the difference. Now, it's still great to have as a snack, but for those of us that tend to be bingers like myself, and those of us that just go overboard when we actually grab a handful and then it turns into like 4 or 5 handfuls, then that can be an issue for your weight loss path. And instead of doing the nuts or even chips, tortillas, things like that, just grab some more fruit. You can do apple instead of actually doing the nuts that you might overdo. Maybe just take a tablespoon, 1 tablespoon of almond butter or peanut butter, and then take some celery sticks and dip it into that, and that's your snack instead of eating an actual big size of nuts and things like that. Now, another big deal for us meat eaters, I am a meat eater, but I try to keep it mainly fish is my thing, instead of eating all these different types of meat. Now, I know there's certain special occasions that we're gonna do different things, you know, like turkey or anything like that, and that's fine too, but I keep these at a minimum. There's a lot of processed meats like bacon and sausages and things like that. Eating too much of these things can't be good, and when you go to an extreme on these types of things that have tons of oils, tons of fats that are not the good fats, then you have to be extra careful because it's packaged food. So I swapped out meat for a week and did mushrooms instead. And so with the texture of portobello mushroom, it's so good and really does taste like you're having a small steak. And so I would do that in exchange for doing, say, a steak or any kind of meat. That again is a lot of water content. There's at least 70% water in the portobello mushroom. So that's something that you can consider, and you still feel good and satiated. Dress it up with dressings like balsamic, and that has little to none of calories that you're putting on top and marinating it. And then I like making it in my air fryer. You just had a vegetarian meal or even a vegan meal, not feel like you have been deprived of the good foods that you've been eating earlier in the week. That is basically what I do on swapping out these types of foods so you don't feel as deprived as you think you do. And try it out. Give it a week or two. You'll see the difference in how you feel. On top of the intermittent fasting and also swapping out these food choices, this should blend together perfectly where you are getting all the vitamins that you need, and then also on top of that, you're losing weight, feeling good, and you're looking great. Thanks guys for watching, I appreciate it. And if you have any questions or comments, please do leave them below. And if you'd like to check out my website at regedited.com, it is always a progress in the making, and I am doing an overhaul on the site as well. So keep checking back for updates because there will be more to come. And again, don't forget that caregiving begins with you. Talk to you later.